in the market that we're in right now, recruiting, retaining, attracting, things are a little bit different. The methods that we use today are different than the methods we used, say, even 6 months ago. Now, some things won't change, and that's just the way the market is. But the reality is, and I was just having a conversation with our leadership team about this, Matt. If we have an associate with our team right now that has closed 8 to 10 deals or less, they're a flight risk. And I don't necessarily mean flight risk like going and joining another brokerage. I mean flight risk going and joining, finding another job, and then a year from now finding themselves out of a job. And so, of course, there's 2 ways in a real estate office to correct that, as you know, is obviously you do everything you can to train them, coach them, develop them, hold them accountable, and also know that attrition is just part of the process. And recruiting solves every problem in a real estate office. And that's doesn't matter what market we're in to have that effect, right, Matt?
Yep, that's exactly right. And this is a very opportunistic time right now on the recruiting side.
Good. So we're going to jump into today's topic. I know we already started a little bit late, and sorry again for our technical difficulties here. I always tell everyone, we're really good at starting 2 to 3 minutes late. Normally we're not 7 to 10 late. So that one's on us, but everyone should have a workbook. This was emailed to you. If you registered for this session, you should have a workbook in hand, and please do me a favor and get that printed off, because you're going to need it for this session. And Matt, I'm going to jump in real quick. For those that aren't familiar, Glover U, because I know we've got first timers on. In fact, if you're a first timer watching a Glover U webinar for the first time, do me a favor, drop your city and state down in the chat. I want to see where you're joining us from today. I've got that down here on my screen. I want to see our first timers. And this is obviously, Matt, we've got a lot of lead agents on. We've got brokers on, we've got owners of real estate teams on, we've got team leaders of real estate teams. So if you're a first timer, do me a favor, throw it down in the chat, your city and state. I want to know where you're coming from. Now, if you're a second, third, fifth, 10th, whatever timer, that's okay too. Just put in the chat, hey, I've been following Glover U for a couple years, and I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee, or wherever you're from. I want to see where everyone's coming from today. So we're following the chat down there at the bottom. And when you are going to chat us today, make sure you select all attendees. Right now, it might be defaulted to panelists. Make sure you select all attendees so we can see it and all of your attendees can see it as well. And there you see also Glover U threw down in the chat the workbook, how you get a copy of the workbook if for whatever reason it ended up in your spam or something like that. Now, if you would do me a favor and turn to page 3 in your workbook, it says free resource checklist. You guys are all smart broker, owner, team leaders. I'm not going to go through every single one of these with you. I just want to make sure you're taking advantage of the 2 or 3 most popular ones that brokers, owners, and team leaders are using right now. And the first one is our daily text message. Matt, I hear all the time now, brokers, owners, team leaders will come up to me and say, Jeff, I take your daily message and I just take that and I send it out in an email to all my agents. And they always say, I hope you don't mind. I add a little flair. I add some examples. By all means, utilize us as a resource to be a training tool for your salespeople, because that daily message, by the way, as you know, Matt, is the same message I'm sharing with our team every day. And that's kind of how it started. It's like, all right, if I'm going to take the time and energy and share good stuff with our team, then we might as well share it with the public. And so every day, once a day, Monday through Friday, I'm writing a daily text message with information that specifically relates to what's happening in the industry, what's happening in the market, what's happening with sellers, what's happening with buyers, what we're doing in terms of marketing. Monday through Friday, I write a quick message and I send it out via text message. If you'd like to sign up for that, it's totally free. I'll show you how to do that. Take out your cell phones. Go ahead and take out your cell phones and open up your text message, just as if you were, Matt, you already have it, but I appreciate you doing that for effect. Thank you for being a good student. Open up your cell phone text messages, just as if you met me at a restaurant and we're exchanging phone numbers, and text the word morning. So in the body of the message, you're going to type morning, MORNING, and the phone number is 55444. So the phone number is 55444. It's only 5 digits. Somehow it works. 2 5s, 3 4s, 55444. Body of the message, type morning, hit send. You'll be signed up for absolutely no cost. And at any point in time, if you don't like the messaging that I'm putting out, you can always reply stop and we'll get you removed from those. Take that, use it with your sales team, use it with your brokerage, use it with the people that report to you or anybody that's in your training schedule. The second resource I want to share with you while you have your phone in your hand, and this is another great sales meeting tool. Again, similar thing. I have people say, well, I used this as a sales training topic last month, and that's our publication called the U Gazette. We produce now 55,000 copies of these, and we send them out to realtors across North America. If you'd like to sign up for this, it's totally free. And this is, 80 to 90 pages of real estate sales and business content, specifically related to real estate sales professionals and sales leaders. Sometimes we'll have a great keynote at one of our events and we'll interview them afterwards, and we'll take their interview and we'll put it right in here. So it's like you're getting some free keynotes, from time to time. By the way, how do you sign up for this? Super simple. Go to your Facebook app. So go ahead and close out of your text messages because it would have asked you your first name, last name, whatever. Go to your Facebook app. And in the top right-hand corner, there's a little magnifying glass. Click on that and just search Glover U Inner Circle, GLOVER space the letter U space Inner Circle. It's a free Facebook group, as obviously all Facebook groups are. You're just going to click join, and it's going to ask you if you'd like to join the group, and it's going to ask you if you'd like to subscribe to our publication. That is what this is. So it's physical. We'll drop it in the mail to you at absolutely no cost. So don't give us your email address because this is something that we mail out. 55,000 copies of these get distributed. If you want to be on the distribution list, join the Glover U Inner Circle. Now, if you're on this session and you're thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm in the Inner Circle, but I don't get this in my mailbox. It's a super simple workaround. Go to gloveru.com/Gazette. gloveru.com/Gazette. And last but not least, in terms of resources I want to share, and it's not even listed on here, actually, and that's how recent it is. And that's the second half plan. And right now, I'm encouraging agents to take their business plan that they wrote for the year and throw it in the trash. You have to recreate a new plan. Why? Because less buyers are buying, less sellers are selling. That's a whole nother discussion. We'll be talking about that in Traverse City in a couple of weeks for those of you that are planning on attending. Right now, we have to operate from a new plan. I have written a new plan for this specific market. In 20 years of doing this, I've seen good markets, I've seen bad markets, and you can find that at gloveru.com/halftime. Super simple, gloveru.com/halftime. That's the exact same business plan that I'm using personally and that our team is using as well. gloveru.com/halftime. Okay, so there you go. There is all the resources. For those that are wondering, all right, why should I pay attention to what these guys have to say for you first timers? Well, I've been listing and selling real estate now for 20 years. I'm on the ground with you. I'll personally sell between 75 and 100 homes a year this year. For the last decade, I've sold over 100 homes a year personally. Our team does anywhere from 950 to 1,000 transactions. I've got multiple brokerages with over 600 agents. So we know this content. And what's great about the gentleman who's going to present it to you is he knows it just as good, if not better than me, because he's the one that trained me. When I had an opportunity to buy a brokerage, he happened to be the leader of the region at that time. And so they said, Jeff, here's the deal. You want to buy this brokerage? We're going to introduce you to this guy named Matt Sutter. What is a guy from Texas going to teach me is probably what I said, I'm sure. And you're going to learn everything you need to know and do about running large brokerages from this guy. And so I had a great fortune of meeting Matt several years ago and looked at him as a leader and as a mentor as I was developing as a professional leader, I guess would be the good way to put it. And Matt knows this brokerage business inside and out, let me tell you. So without further ado, let's talk about best agent attraction and recruiting strategies. Matt, take it away.
Man, Jeff, first off, thanks. It's awesome to be here. Already taking shots at Texas, man. We haven't even started. I will remember that when I see you here in a couple of weeks. Wow.
Listen, I'm from Detroit. We get picked on for everything, okay?
That's true. That's true. Well, I've got nothing but love for Detroit. You know that. And I got nothing but love for Texas as well. So awesome. It's awesome to be with you guys today. Excited. One of my favorite topics, and Jeff, you and I have been talking about this for years. And I really believe, I'm going to get to this in just a second. This is, to me, we are starting this golden period of recruiting opportunities. And I am so excited about this. This is going to be a great opportunity for those brokerages and teams that really recognize that it's these times in the market that we can really capitalize on bringing in great agents. But, for those that aren't familiar with me, Jeff, you know this, primarily I work with large teams and brokerages. So I'm in the recruiting space on a regular basis. It's one of the things I'm focused on really every single day is teaching people how to be great recruiters. And Jeff, you know this, one of the biggest complaints we get from teams and from brokerages is, why can't my people just do what they're supposed to do? Or, why can't I find agents that can just sell 2 homes a month?
Mm-hmm.
These are the common complaints we get. And I want to start off by being really clear that at the end of the day, when our people are not performing, one of 4 things has occurred. 1, we hired incorrectly. 2, we didn't have a great training program. 3, we didn't set expectations, or 4, we don't have a great accountability mechanism. And of course, you and I teach a lot on the last 3. We're going to focus today on the first one, which is how do we hire correctly? And we have 2 goals in this process. The first is we got to cast a big net. We want to be able to attract as many agents into our world as possible. Then we want to pick the ones that we want. It's kind of like if I go out fishing, I'm going to throw back the ones I don't want. They don't have the potential to put meat on the table. I only want the ones that I want, but we've got to cast a big net to get there. So before we get started, I want to kind of bring out 3 key points. Because it's very easy in our business. And
hey, Matt, can I just say before you share those 3, and it's a perfect comment for that, because what a lot of times people hear, and I know you've heard this several times, well, I don't want to be one of those brokerages that just hires anybody. I don't want to be one of those teams that just hires anybody. That's not what he's saying. What Matt essentially said, and write this down, is the quality will show up in the quantity. The quality will show up in the quantity. So Matt, there's a lot of brokerages, there's a lot of teams, there's a lot of people being criticized for growing really fast and growing really big and adding a lot of agents. And, you'll hear agents say, well, I don't want a big team. I don't need a big brokerage. Well, first of all, if you're here for learning how to recruit and attract, you better have some goals to have a big team and a big brokerage, because that's what we're talking about today. But not because you need to have a team of 50 or 500 or a brokerage of 5,000. No, because when you attract and you recruit, you'll get the quality agents that you want. The quality shows up in the quantity.
Yeah, I would echo this. And I would say, as we go into the shifted market, we don't, there's plenty of agents out there that can't tie their shoes. That's not what we're looking for, but we've got to cast a big net, get the quantity, and then we can be selective about the ones that we want to bring in that meet our quality standards. And so I'm going to get to that second, but 3 key points before we get started. And it's really important that we get clarity on this, because a lot of teams and brokerages that I work with, they can get really bogged down on what are their systems and what are their training processes and what are their tools and what are their resources. And all of that's really, really important. Yet make no mistake, that's 1B. 1A is the talent of the people that we're bringing into the organization. At the end of the day, I always say, you want to have the best team, you want to have the best brokerage, have the best people. If you have the best people, you're going to win, because you'll figure all of that other stuff out. So make getting into talent attraction your number 1 priority. It is the biggest piece. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I alluded to this just a second ago. We are going into a phase in the market where we are seeing good agents raise their hand and say, you know what, I can't do this on my own anymore. I need a bigger value proposition, or I need somebody with a bigger vision, or someone that can lead and guide me. And I got to tell you, my top teams across the country right now, they just have people lining up. And these are, again, good agents saying, I can't do this on my own anymore. I need some help. Jeff, you got something on that?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking, we have one last week that's coming in for a second meeting today. A highly successful agent in our market that you would otherwise think, doesn't need any help from a team, or, maybe probably should be starting his own team. And the reality is the meeting was, hey, listen, I know the market's going into a place I've never been, and I want to be with a company that's been through it before. Right. So I know, when we talk about agent attraction, and if you're watching this, you might be thinking like, all right, how do I become one of those teams where those people are lining up and waiting to get in? And so I know you're going to cover that. So I won't steal your thunder.
No, you're great. No, but this is exciting. So maybe more than anything, I just want to drive home. This is the time. Like, we've been waiting for this. Jeff, you and I love when the market shifts, right? Both of us initially built our businesses in shifting markets where things got more challenging, and we rewarded skill and we rewarded effort. And that's the point where we're getting it. So second, this is an amazing time for it. And then third time, because skill is becoming more and more required, us becoming selective on who we're bringing into our organization really does matter. And the second biggest complaint I get from teams and brokerages, beyond the why can't my people just produce, is why can't I find good people? And the biggest reason we don't find good people is exactly what Jeff said just a few minutes ago, is we're not casting a big enough net. We're not getting enough quantity into the mix to have the quality in there. And Jeff, you and I are both big fans of John Maxwell. We think very highly of him. And he says one of my favorite phrases, and I repeat it all the time, is you cannot take a duck to eagle school.
Yep.
Fundamentally, Jeff, if you hire a duck, the best you're ever going to get is a mature duck. You're never actually going to get an eagle. And so many leaders get just drained because they say, I'm just beating my head against the wall and I can't get them people to produce. Well, it's because we got ducks and we need baby eagles.
Well, and I just want to say one thing on that, Matt. And again, I know we're here for recruiting and attraction. And obviously when we start talking, we're just going to have some things that hopefully you get some value out of to share based on our wisdom and our experience. And that is, the ducks are going to drive the eagles away. And that's one area, Matt, that I'm paying close attention to. And I've seen it before, that especially in real estate teams and brokerages that are going heavy recruiting model right now, is you'll wake up one day and all of a sudden your top people are going to start leaving. Why is that? Well, don't make no mistake. You still have to find the quality and the quantity, but how long do you keep the quantity that isn't quality around is the differentiating factor. How much time do you give someone to determine whether they're going to be a duck or an eagle, and how quickly do you cut that off before you start losing your top people? Because that's what starts to happen in a high recruiting model. Your top people start looking around and saying, hey, we're just bringing in people that are going to take from my leads, right? We're just bringing in people that are going to steal from my resources. I want to be surrounded by good producers that add to the resources, not subtract from them.
Yeah, dead on. And it's going to matter going forward. So let's shift gears, Jeff. And let's talk about 5 surefire agent attraction strategies. Now, you and I, Jeff, over the past several years, we put together some really cool content called From Salesperson to CEO. And so we hit this first topic, really hard in this class. I wish I could do it more depth here. We just don't have enough time. But number one, in these 5 surefire ways to attract agents, is to cast vision, to become really good at getting clear about where you're going and be able to attract people through that mechanism, to just say it over and over and over. And one of the things, working with leaders over the past decade, is that a lot of leaders struggle to really be able to articulate their vision, but more than that, they struggle to just be repetitive in it, to always be talking about it, to always be attracting through it. So for those of you that are really working on your vision, even if it's not quite refined, make sure you're repetitive on it over and over and over. See, remember, you go to bed every night thinking about your vision. You wake up every morning thinking about your vision, but your people and the public don't. So you think you're saying it too much, you're actually not saying it enough.
Document it, write it out, have it posted, create posters around the office with it, have it written everywhere you go, keep it in your briefcase. You cannot remind your people enough of it. You think you are because you're reminded of it constantly, but you're not talking about enough. Make sure every single sales meeting, it's something that gets presented. Every time you're meeting with a recruit, you have a list of, 17 things you're going to ask them. Make sure one of them is understanding what their vision is, and make sure they understand what your vision is. So crucial. I love that one. And it makes sense that that's number one.
Yeah. And from a recruiting standpoint, get it out of the marketplace as much as possible. Utilize social media. Jeff, you're a master at this. You're always talking about the vision of the organization. And one of the things that I learned from you a few years ago, which was really powerful for me, because a lot of times when we post on social media, right, we may make some sort of personal post that we get all sorts of engagement. I know I just did that recently. I got hundreds and hundreds of comments, and that was really cool. And then I posted something about vision and I got very little. And a few years ago, it used to bother me because I was like, no one was engaging. The thing I learned about you is that a lot of times people won't engage because they're still checking it out, but they're watching.
Yeah.
They're seeing. Do not get caught into the trap when you do a Facebook Live or you make a post about what your business is doing or building.
Yep.
The fact that people aren't engaging does not mean they're not watching and that they're not being moved on it. Stay consistent. And Jeff, you got anything on that?
Yeah, well, you know that they are, because later you'll run into somebody and say, oh, how was A, B, and C? Oh, wow, I didn't think anybody even saw that. I mean, I got like 7 comments and 3 likes or something like that, right? Same thing with your live video. You might have only 7 or 8 or 10 eyeballs as you're speaking into a Facebook Live camera or your phone. And then later you'll go back and check it in 2 days and you'll have, 683 views or something like that.
Yeah, big time, big time. So that's number 1, casting vision just over and over and over. Number 2, this is great nuance here, is to talk about the success of others in your organization. See, for those of you that are running big businesses, big brokerages or big teams, or even building a big organization, remember that when people look at you, they believe you're special or unique. Now, that may or may not be true, but that's often the story they craft. So when people look at Jeff, they say, oh, well, he's so uniquely gifted, I could never be Jeff. And so what happens is if we talk about the success we're having, that doesn't actually inspire people to believe that they could replicate it. Instead, when we can talk about the people in our organization, though, that have become successful, those stories articulate this idea of, wow, Jane Doe was successful in that organization, so maybe I can too. Maybe that needs to be the landing spot. Remember, people fundamentally don't care about you. They may like you, they may even love you, but they don't care about you when it comes to a business standpoint.
Yeah.
They care about where you can get them, and they need to see validity that you've helped other people get to where they want to go.
Yep. Love that. And you could take that and create a digital marketing campaign, social media campaign. Obviously, you can make it part of your recruiting value proposition workbook, obviously putting testimonials on the website. I mean, there's so many ways that you can take that. And the best part about that, Matt, is you're also creating recognition, right? When you're talking about the success of your team members, sure, this is great for attraction and recruiting, but it's also recognition, which is what people value and what people, appreciate about being affiliated with an organization, getting recognized.
Yeah, it's fantastic for retention too, which of course is another topic that we could talk for hours on. And yeah, you 2 birds with 1 stone. So that's number 2. Number 3, one of the things we have to realize, especially in this era of social media, is that most people are wired to believe most of what they see is noise. And so what becomes really important is that we're able to make a compelling yet empirical based, what I mean by that is numbers based argument as to what makes us unique or what has allowed us to succeed. And so we do that by utilizing what's something called the language of real estate. Now, if you think about this, we all speak at least one language, and in some cases we might speak multiple languages, but in business, the language is actually numbers. And what happens is you see a lot of teams and brokerages say, we're the best because of subjective emotional argument. But fundamentally, at the end of the day, we want to make a compelling argument. We're the best because our average agent is up 30% in listings taken in the past year, or our average agent has sold 24% more homes than the board of realtors. Yeah. We want to create a compelling, empirical, numbers-based argument that's not subjective, that can't be discounted, that can't be denied, and actually shows real evidence of success. Jeff, you got a thought on that?
No, it's no different than going on a listing presentation right now and meeting with a seller. You can't say, hey guys, I know your neighbors had 87 showings and 37 offers 90 days ago, but that's just not the market anymore. Trust me, I wish it was, but I'm sorry, it's just not the market anymore. No, you need to be able to say, hey guys, so the market's changed a bit, and let me share with you what's changed. Right now, our average showings per listing, at this same time last year, were 18. Right now, according to Showing Time, it's 9. Last year at this time, we had anywhere from 30 to 40 price reductions a day. Today, we have between 300 and 400 price reductions a day, right? You need to be able to give specifics for people to buy into what you're saying. Otherwise, they're going to think it's just a sales pitch. And the
Yeah.
language of real estate as it relates to recruiting and how your team or your brokerage is outperforming the market is what people care about. Because if your listings, hey, man, we are like a listing-based company over here. Did you know so far this year, our listings are up 20% year over year? We're so focused on marketing and we're doing so good with listings. And oh, by the way, the market's up 20% also. So you're not actually up 20%, you're up 0%, right? Be able to know how you compare to the market and then be able to articulate that to a real estate agent. Super important.
Yeah, people want to see that they have lots of places to go. Are you going to be the vehicle that's going the fastest, that can get them there the fastest? So that's number 3. Yep. Number 4, one of my favorites is to commit to teaching in your marketplace, but with a special nuance. You know, Jeff, one of the things I've experienced with a lot of people I coach is, you know, I'll suggest to them, well, listen, if you want to grow your stature, if you want to start attracting more people, teach in your marketplace. And one of the pushbacks I get a lot of times is, well, but I don't want to give them away. I don't want to give away all my secrets. If I tell them what we're doing, then they're going to do it.
Yeah.
First off, Jeff, you and I both know that strategy is overrated, because strategy is only a competitive advantage for a very short window. At the end of the day, yep. I can replicate every strategy anyone's done within weeks, months at the most. Yep. And then it comes down to execution. But here's what I love to do. I actually say, no, not only are you going to share some of the things you're doing, you're going to share everything you're doing. And here's why. It's called the shock and awe approach. Mm-hmm. You're going to teach a class where you're literally going to share everything you're doing. You're going to share it rapid fire. And the design is psychologically, what that tells people is, holy moly, I could never compete with this. Yep. And what actually happens is the sentiment of, okay, I can't compete. There's no way I could possibly offer everything that this brokerage or this team is offering. So what naturally happens? Well, what's the old saying, Jeff? If you can't beat them, join them. Join them. That's right. And so that shock and awe approach is so powerful for creating people to join, because they just kind of naturally surrender. Yeah. And say, I can't compete.
And it's amazing what happens. And I'll tell you, I've got personal experience with this in my market. You know, Matt, no surprise to you, obviously, because I was, a leader while you were leading our region. I had the reputation of being a very aggressive, cold calling, didn't give a crap about anything other than, our team and our success and all of this. And what I recognize is when I started giving back, when I started sharing with the market of, hey guys, here's what I'm doing. There's no secret to this. And oh, by the way, we don't do this anymore because I lost a lot of money doing that. And I wouldn't recommend doing that. And here's why. Now, all of a sudden, you're lowering your competition's resistance. You're lowering real estate agents' resistance to the idea that they would never be a part of what you're doing. That's the one thing, Matt, as you know, top producers, they get that effect takes place. And I know you work with a lot of our top clients, and they can be somewhat polarizing in their market, right? You can't be a prophet in your own land because, they're proactive or they're aggressive or they're successful. And everyone thinks, oh, no, that's, I'd never work with them because of A, B, and C. And by the way, A, B, and C is something that they heard at the coffee pot from someone that doesn't even know them. But when you start teaching in the market, all of a sudden, it lowers people's resistance to you, and people are more open to the idea of following what it is you do. I mean, and JGA and even Glover U to some degree is a perfect example of that, because, for a long time, nobody in Metro Detroit would want to show up to my stuff until they started hearing from other agents. Oh no, he's sharing everything. Okay, I'll go check it out. It lowers resistance and gets people open to the idea of working with you in some capacity. Of course, you're always going to have a couple knuckleheads that are there just to take notes and do whatever they want with them. But ultimately, becoming known as a trainer in your market will do a lot of good things for your brokerage or team business.
Yeah, love it. And so that's number 4. Awesome. Let's go to number 5. And this is a big one. Jeff, you and I spend so much time on the ground, right? You and I are traveling across the country, and gosh, we're interacting with hundreds of agents every single month in different marketplaces. And so you and I know this. We know that there's a sentiment of frustration from a wide range of agents, and they may not be publicly making these claims, but that sentiment brewing. And so the number 5 strategy that's working extremely effective in a market like this is talk to your allied resources. I'm talking about your mortgage partners, your insurance partners, your title partners, because what's happening is they're becoming aware of a lot of agents that are frustrated with the circumstances they're in. And they're looking for a greener pasture. They're looking for something for a vehicle for their success. And they're often going to be the ones that can connect you to those good agents. Again, good agents, but need a different environment and are looking for something better.
Man, your allied resources, I hate to say it, they know when agents are leaving their team or brokerage before anyone else. So, if you want to find out what's going on in your own brokerage, just talk to your allied resources. They'll tell you, they'll let you know who's frustrated or they'll ask. And by the way, they're normally very respectful to both sides. So they'll disguise it as things like, hey, what's going on with Johnny? And you'll say, well, what do you mean? Well, it just seems like he's not as engaged like he used to be. That means they know something. They're trying to help you out, right? So yes, Matt, we'll talk about that when we get to retention, but seriously, same thing. You've got great relationship with your allied resources. They can tell you, hey, and you could just ask them, would you mind doing me a favor? And I don't want to, step on any toes. I don't want to jeopardize your relationship with anyone else. But if you know somebody in the market that's interviewing, once you know they're interviewing, I don't need the gossip and the drama and all the stuff leading up to it. But once you have confirmation that they're interviewing, could you let me know and maybe put in the good word for us? Absolutely. Every time I hear something like that, I'll send them your way. And why do they want to do that? Well, because they want to retain them, right? So if your brokerage uses one mortgage company, they don't want that agent who uses the mortgage company going to another team or another brokerage, because they know they're at risk of losing that business from them because maybe that brokerage or team uses another mortgage company. So they're going to want to help you attract and recruit agents because that increases the chances that they're going to keep their business as well.
Yep. Love it. Love it. Cool. Awesome. So those are 5 ways to attract. Now let's talk about 3 ways for how we select, how we identify who we are going to take. So 3 principles to utilize when determining who to bring in. Again, we're not in the market of bringing in people that can't tie their shoes. In this marketplace, they will not succeed. We will fail beating our head against the wall, trying to bring them. Here's number 1. A lot of times, Jeff, people ask us, well, how do I become a great recruiter? And I say, well, the first thing you have to understand that recruiting agents is not a listing presentation. While they're both sales processes, they are different sales processes. Remember, when you sit across from a listing prospect, 99% of the time, they want to sell. They want to list their home. All you're trying to do is convince them why they should choose you. But in recruiting, many times, especially top agents, we're trying to convince them to do something they don't want to do, which is to leave their current brokerage or to leave their current team. In many cases, they're happy. If they weren't happy, they'd already be leaving. So understand that recruiting is a very, very nuanced skill. Now, again, and from salesperson to CEO in that class, Jeff, you and I go soup to nuts through the 2-step recruiting process. It's beyond what we can go today. What I really want to get across, though, is that to become a great recruiter, you have to understand how to take people through kind of this emotional process. When I'm sitting down with somebody that's saying, hey, Matt, I'm happy where I'm at, and I just start to use a lot of logic like I would at a listing presentation, they're going to say, sounds great. I don't care. I'm happy where I'm at. And so the recruiting process, if I can boil it down, is this process of me sitting down and having a conversation where I identify what's currently going well for that person. It's what's called current pleasure. What is going well in their business? Then I'm going to take them to the next part, which is where I'm going to start. Once I've built rapport and built a good relationship, now I'm going to start to ask them about what we call current pain, which is what is currently not going well, or what are the gaps in their business. Now, here's the real nuance, and this is where we get really deep in our salesperson to CEO class. The goal then is to bridge them from their current pain, their current gaps, to what happens if those don't get fixed. What is the implication in the future if that gap or that hole does not get resolved? It's what we do to take them to future pain. And that's the space, Jeff, where, if we can hold them in future pain to where they start to almost panic. I mean, that's actually the reaction we're looking for. I see people cry during this because they're realizing, wait, I may never get to send Johnny to college, or I may never actually be able to retire because I don't know how to fix this problem, and it's not going to get better on its own. So we hold them in this future pain space. And that is because we know people run faster from pain than they do towards pleasure. That's where the heavy lifting's done.
Yep.
Then the final step in the recruiting process is now we get to share how we can solve their problem with our value proposition. And in doing that, what we're doing is we're taking them from future pain to future pleasure. Hey, Johnny, by joining us, do you understand how we can solve your pain problem, and you can actually get your unreal life that you're looking for, right? So it's current pleasure to current pain to future pleasure. That's number one. Jeff, did you have anything on that?
No, just that. I mean, I love how you preface it with, hey, it's not a feature and benefit situation.
Correct.
The biggest mistake broker owners, team leaders, lead agents, owners of teams that they make is they sit there and want to point out what makes your team better, what makes your office better, what makes your brokerage better. And here's all the reasons why you should join us. All right. That technique is dated. That technique is old. It's going to work for the select few, maybe a newbie. You can still use that technique when you're meeting with a new licensee. But if you want to recruit an experienced agent, that is the model right there. Finding the pain and then being the solution to the pain.
Yep. And remember, they don't even know they're in pain. So that's where some of the nuances. All right, we got two more. So number two is identifying people with a clear track record of success. One of the things that's a challenge in our industry is we naturally communicate with salespeople and natural salespeople in many cases. And Jeff, you and I have both experienced this where somebody can say all the right things, but at the end of the day, are they going to put in the work? Are they going to develop the skill? Right. The biggest predictor of someone's success in the future is their past. It's not the words they say. It's not knowing all the right answers. It's not being able to schmooze you. It's, do they actually have a track record in the past that suggests they're going to have a track record in the future? And we know as this market continues to shift, skill is going to matter. Quite frankly, over the past couple of years, you could be really successful and not actually be a student of your craft and not actually develop skill. Those days are gone. Skill matters. And what is skill? Skill is literally just the product of someone's talent times their commitment level. That's what skill is. Talent times commitment. That's how skill shows up. So we're looking for talented people, and yet we're looking for talented people that have shown in the past they can commit to something and actually drive to a track record of success. So for me, I know when I'm bringing people into our organizations, I want to know what have they done in the past that would warrant or suggest they're going to be successful in the future. And of course, I love that if they have professional accomplishments, but maybe there's somebody that's younger. Maybe they don't have a lot of professional success. Well, I'm looking for people where maybe they were a Division I athlete, or maybe they were a state debate champion, or maybe they were an Eagle Scout. But is there something in their pedigree, something in their life that says they have the ability to commit, drive forward, be resilient, and succeed? That's the biggest predictor of someone's success. Jeff, what do you think?
I appreciate you saying those examples of, like, let's say the high school sports team, for instance, because I think we tend to put success as that barometer. Well, they were successful in car sales, or they were successful in retail, or they were successful in, as a school principal. Well, okay, we're not talking about how much money they made. We're talking about, do they have a chip on their shoulder? Did they rise through the ranks? Did they go faster than everyone else? Did they win a championship? Were they the captain of the team? Like, this isn't the correlation between, what they do in terms of money in their previous industry is not what we're talking about. We're talking about previous to meeting you, what are other wins that they've had in their life? Personal, professional. Again, money does not have to be involved in all in that. And I think, Matt, a lot of lead agents, team leaders, broker owners place their previous success as, well, they got to this level, and made this kind of money at General Motors. So yeah, this guy's going to be good. Well, how long did it take him to get to that level at General Motors? And why did it take him 30 years to get to that level when some people are getting there in 5? I would argue that they're actually not going to be good. The person that got there in 5 is going to be better than the person that got there in 30 years.
Yeah, no question. There's so much nuance in there. So let's end with this last one. And Jeff, you and I, running large organizations, we both experienced this. And depending on who's watching this right now, we may have some people that are kind of on the starting of building a team, and that's fantastic. And this does not apply necessarily to people that are running a team of 3 or 5 people. And yet for those people that want to get beyond that, one of the biggest things that we have to do when hiring is ask ourselves this question: will this person be successful without me? Here's what I mean by that. if I look at somebody and say, I can develop them, I can make them great, then the problem is I've immediately put a ceiling on my organization because I can only service so many people at once. And then beyond that, I run out of time. And that's as large as my organization will ever get. My goal when I'm looking at recruiting people into any of my organizations is, will this person be successful without me? Then my goal, of course, is to create a value proposition, to create an opportunity, to create an environment that's so much better than they can get anywhere else, to where now they can get to that success faster, but without it being all up to me.
Yep. I love that. And that would be a good segue. And I know we don't have a ton of time for it, but that would be a good segue of the whole conversation of, do you lead with leads in your value proposition, right? When you look at your value proposition as a team, as a brokerage, where should leads fall? Because there's a lot of teams, Matt, and a lot of brokerage, that have used leads as their number one source of value, and they have exploded in growth until they realize that maybe it's not as profitable. So then they got to start dialing the leads back. And then now they're dealing with tons of turnover. And they're losing their top producers because the top producers were once getting a ton of leads, and now the leads are being spread out. Never, if you're in Glover U coaching, or you follow us any more than today, one thing you're going to understand: you never lead with leads. You never lead with leads. You will have a much more enjoyable life as a broker, owner, team leader, lead agent. You'll have a much more profitable life as a broker, owner, lead agent, team leader, and you'll have a much more time back because you're not spending all of your time recruiting and replacing the turnover that takes place when your number one value proposition is leads.
Yes, sir. 100%.
So speaking of that, one of the things that Matt and I talked about early on when we first got together was there's got to be something that can teach brokers, owners, and specifically lead agents that have small teams or want to grow large teams, or maybe they want to take their medium-sized team to a large team. There's got to be something that we can do to help these people, because obviously in 20 years, this is my 20th year, Matt, in 20 years of doing this, and we opened our doors to our team, I think it was January of 08 or January of 09. So I don't know what that works out to, 13, 14 years of running a team. We've failed forward a lot. And so, we started having the discussion several years ago, and I know we ended up announcing it at one of our first events, that we need to have something for agents that want to build teams the right way. And so we put together the team building from salesperson to CEO program, which is essentially 16 weeks of removing all of the trial and error, right? 16 weeks of you not having to worry about, how to recruit, how to build a value proposition, how to train. What is your coaching module? I think they're getting ready to pull it up on the screen there, but if you don't have it, if it's not on the screen, it's in your workbook on page 15, by the way, what I'm talking about. And that's the team building from salesperson to CEO. And so whoever is behind the scenes working it, we can't see the workbook on the screen. We just see a desktop, just letting you know that. So salesperson to CEO, here's the deal in a nutshell. And Matt, it's your program, so I won't steal your thunder. This is for anyone on here that's currently running a team or running a brokerage that wants to run, there it is, that wants to run it the right way. Or somebody who's on here saying, you know what? I've been a solo agent for this amount of time. No one's ever really taught me how to lead. No one's ever really taught me how to be a CEO. And this is a program for that. It was actually one of the first leadership programs we ever introduced. I know the first time we introduced it, it sold out in like 30 minutes. We keep the class size small. I think we keep it to 50 or 75 or less. So there's interaction. So I'll let you talk about it, Matt. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Awesome. Jeff, obviously this was a labor of love. One of the things we love about our industry is we're a sales-based industry. You and I love sales skills. We know they're the foundation. And yet at the end of the day, sales skills are not predictive of leadership skills or business skills. Those are two completely different functions. And unfortunately, in our industry, there's not enough training around how do you become a world-class leader and how do you become a world-class business person. And so we put together this class, and we're excited. Just over the past few years, we've had multiple billions of dollars in annual cumulative production run through this class. This is soup to nuts. of how do you create a mechanism? How do you build an organization where you can attract people like we were talking about today? How do you get them ramped up? How do you implement accountability programs? How do you utilize goal setting functions and then be able to hold people to that? How do you retain world-class talent? And how do you build your operation systems in a way that can support the growth of super agents in your brokerage or your team? And one of the things I loved about this class is when you walk out of here from over a 16-week class, you're going to have a great insight to not only where's the profitability of your organization, but you're going to learn exactly which levers to hit to grow your profitability. Jeff, how many people or how many teams and brokerages have we experienced where they may have a lot of production, but they're not actually making any money?
Yeah.
And
by the way, I was one of those for 2 years until I met Matt, and he taught me how to be profitable.
Hey, listen, we all fail forward. And the purpose of this, though, is to accelerate that, right? Because I think when we do a lot of these exercises, people are like, whoa, I thought because my business was profitable that I must have been making money from all these different segments. But what happens is a lot of organizations, they may be overall profitable.
Yep.
But they have certain segments where they're actually losing money. And so we learn how to identify those, how to tweak those, and then again, how to get the right people into each of the seats on the bus so that we're able to accelerate forward. So we're not just growing production. Fundamentally, Jeff, and I'll always carry the rallying cry in this. We're growing profitability, because at the end of the day, the goal of a business is profit. Without it, nothing else matters.
Well, and I know we've had some discussions around this, but and you've, even since you first launched the program, because the market in the industry has changed, you've had to change up some of the topics and some of the modules. Like, for instance, I know in this new market, there's a heavy emphasis on recruiting and retention. So although that's not going to be talked about in every single session, I know that's a big hot button for teams and brokerages right now that are starting to experience some turnover or are getting ready to experience some turnover. And, there's no better time than it starts obviously at the end of August after our retreat, which is coming up in a few weeks. There's no better time than now to jump into something like this. If you truly want to go from, hey, I've had some leadership, or maybe I was a manager once, but no, I need to learn how to run a company. I need to learn how to build a value proposition, not just for consumers, but for real estate agents. I then need to know how to articulate that value proposition and present it and market it to the public. We cover all of this in 16 weeks. What's great about Matt is not only does he have a ton of previous experience prior to meeting with me, or prior to us meeting, but over the last 3-4 years, he has studied the JGA way of doing things. He has studied the way we have built our brokerages and our team and incorporated all of his previous experience into this program. So if you want to be able to win at a faster rate than I've won, because you can eliminate all the mistakes that we've made, then this is for you. Now, if you want more information, text the word CEO to 55444, the same phone number that you texted morning to get that daily text message. Go ahead and open up your cell phones, text CEO to 55444. You'll get everything you need about the program. And again, in your workbook, which you should have printed out by now, it's on page 15 in there. We'll be starting, I believe, the last week of August. So you got a little bit of time, but also at the same time, we limit the attendees. So we don't want to tell you that you're going to have to wait until, I think the next one, Matt, will launch not until January or February. So February. If you don't make this one, you're waiting until 2023.
Yep. This is the recruiting time. This is the time. Yep.
Anything else on your program, Matt, before I shift gears and close?
No, one of the questions I get, because, Jeff, I'm sold out on one-on-one clients. I just can't take anymore. And obviously, we're charging a premium these days for those, and I'm still booked solid. So one of the questions people ask is, okay, well, great. So it's a group coaching format, but do I actually get any access to you? Yeah. And that's exactly why we limit the size, because yes, you do get access to me. You will be able to interact with me. You will have time to ask questions and go through the particulars of your business. That's one of the things that was important to both you and I when we set this up.
Yeah. And I'm glad you pointed that out. I completely forgot that. Yeah. So if you called our office right now and said, all right, Glover, I followed you guys enough. I trust you. I'm in. Go ahead and put me in Matt Sutter's schedule. Unfortunately, the answer would be no. He's got a waiting list. So this is a way to kind of jump the waiting list and get 45 to 60 minutes of his time every week. And yes, to his point there, it's a good 40, 45 minutes of instruction, but then it's another 10, 12, 15 minutes of, all right, how do I implement this? Or, hey, last week I had challenges with this. What would your recommendation be? These aren't recorded. I mean, he's literally live with, 30, 40, 50, 70, however many people are in there. Again, we keep it always less than 75 because we want you to be able to interact. And that's the way you can coach with Matt right now. That's a little, workaround to get some of his time. And I'll tell you, it'll be time well spent, just like the impact it had on me. Okay, so if you want that, text CEO to 55444 and we'll get you squared away. All right, last but not least, Matt, I would not be doing my job if I didn't share this. This will probably be the last time, actually. Do you know, Matt, 2 weeks from today, all right, we will be recapping day one of the Live Unreal retreat, which I know you're sharing the new expanded Live Unreal formula. I can't wait to hear that. Day two, our keynote. So 2 weeks from exactly today, his name's Jay Baer. And if you've done any research on this guy, man, does he know his stuff as it relates to digital and social media marketing. All you have to do is Google his name, Jay Baer, B-A-E-R. Go to his podcast. I mean, he's interviewing CEOs of Fortune, like not 500, 100, Fortune 50. I mean, big companies, names that you and I both know, no matter what part of the country you're in. He's our keynote on Tuesday. And he has a specific talk that he has put together. He interviewed me, and I respect when a keynote does that. He interviewed me on everything that's happening in the industry, everything that's happening in the market, and he knows more about digital and social media marketing than any of us. Anyways, 2 weeks from today, we're going to get to hear from Jay, and also 3.5 days, we're going to be doing breakout sessions, masterminds, one-on-one interviews, fun entertainment at night. Do me a favor, turn to page 18 in your workbook. We're going to wrap up with this. This is going to be your last chance to join us because, we're 2 weeks away. And you know what? I had somebody, I was really surprised, Matt, somebody on our staff said, well, why are we still promoting the retreat? Like, who's going to book an airplane, 2 weeks out? We had a ticket sale come through, no joke, from Tempe, Arizona this morning. So I don't care if you're in California, if you're in Alaska, if you're in Hawaii, if you're in Canada, you still have time. And it's kind of fascinating. A month ago, when people were booking flights to Traverse City, Michigan, yes, there's a Traverse City, Michigan, although a lot of people call it Traverse City. Flights were, $700, $800, $900, $1,000, $1,200 for flights. Now we're seeing a lot of flights between $400, $500. So flights have actually come down, even though we're only 2 weeks away. Anyways, on page 18 of your workbook, we're gathering the best lead agents and their teams. So for all of our brokers, team leaders, and lead agents on, this is a safe space for your teams. All right. My whole team is there. Greg Erlinger has a lot of his team there, the #1 agent out of Ohio. Nielsen's from the East Coast. They've got their whole team. It is lead agents and their team. So this is an environment that you want to be in. The content is specifically designed for lead agents, their teams, and also solo agents as well, wanting to become CEOs. Matt, you saw you've got 3 breakout sessions. All right. So Matt's got a breakout session every single day, talking for hours on topics like this. The final day, the mastermind day, he's got his own for like 3 hours on, salesperson and CEO, wealth building type conversations. Anyways, if you want to join us, this is going to be your last chance. On page 18, you see right now the public's paying $499. Everyone that's on this session today, we just gave you $100 off. Just use the code Sutter 100. Thank you, Matt. He's going to pull out, what is it, a Benjamin? $100 bills of Benjamin. He's going to pull out a Benjamin for every single ticket that is sold today, because this price is only good for today, by the way. So Matt's giving you $100 off. Use Sutter 100 at the checkout. And for those of you that are wondering, like, what the heck is this event you're talking about, this Live Unreal retreat? I've never even heard it before. We asked our video team to put together a 60-second video to show you exactly what we're going to be doing 2 weeks from today in Traverse City, Michigan. At the conclusion of the video, I'll have 1 or 2 announcements when we come back. So stick around. Let's cue the video and take a look at what we're going to be doing in Traverse City 2 weeks from now. Started as an event exclusively for our team, has since been open to the public. Why would I do this? The answer is simple. My passion for training and coaching others to accomplish what we've accomplished has exceeded all other passions in my life.
I absolutely love everything that they stand on, everything that they represent. Jeff and his team do everything in excellence. I've been to many conferences throughout my 12-year career, and this is one of the best I've ever attended.
I'm in this room and I'm wondering, all right, why should I pay attention to what this guy has to say? Or why should I pay attention to what's going on here on the stage? And that's for one reason and one reason only, because I'm on the ground with you.
Not only are they coaching it, but these guys are doing it.
Top amazing agents around the United States come together and can learn from some of the best people that Jeff has on stage.
If we can put on an unreal experience, meaning an experience so amazing it's almost unbelievable, well then people will continue to come back. So therefore, we can pour into them to live their most unreal lives. You're gonna know exactly what you need to do, or you're already going to have acquired the skills necessary to make 2022 your best year ever.
There's a reason why we're the fastest growing training and coaching company on the planet.
It's all about not reinventing the wheel. It's finding those certain things that work with your process and being true to yourself and putting those into play and helping as many clients as you want. And Glover U gets me back on track with that.
I loved the featured speakers that they brought on. The content was so incredibly relevant to what we're dealing with today as real estate professionals. And I recommend to anybody, if you're looking to get into an organization, a coaching program that really touches on what is going to get you to the next level with what you're competing with today, then this is definitely where you need to be.
All right, there you have it. So what you didn't get to see is all the fun that we get to have. We do Sunday fun day activities. Monday night, we go down to the beach and we shuttle everyone down there. Tuesday, we get on shuttle buses and go up to the wine area, the wineries of Traverse City. Anyways, last chance, gloveru.com/retreat. Sutter's giving you $100 off if you take advantage of it today. But the catch is you got to take advantage of it today. Okay, last couple things. We've got exactly one, that's right, numero uno, one sizzling summer webinar left. It's taking place right here at this exact same time, next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Go to gloveru.com/webinar to learn all about that. Again, text CEO to 55444 if you're just curious about Matt's program, if you want to go from being a great salesperson to a great CEO. And whether we see you in that program or we see you in Traverse City, we look forward to seeing you sometime soon. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. We'll see you around.
Bye-bye.